Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons like diamonds. Got Luke Simons like diamonds. What are we talking about, dude? Fish finders?
Talking about fish finders,
Oh,
do you need them? Do you not need them? And if you do get some, which ones do you need? So we're going to kind of go through a top summary, and we love your feedback too. So love to hear feedback. I know there's you can probably ask about 10 people. The question about fish finders probably get 10 different answers. So we will share what we found so far.
yep. And this one's probably going to agitate a lot of people because, in general, the answer is no. You don't have to have one. Luke, I've been on the boat with you for decades now, and we rarely use our fish finder. And also, to be very clear, we're talking about inshore saltwater fishing, which a majority of that is fishing the flats, etc. There are certainly times if you're going out near shore, or if you're fishing deeper areas or some bridges and you're trying to find like schools of black drum or tarpon or something. Yeah, but for the most part, the answer is no. So we just saved you a lot of money. That's the end of the podcast. Adios. I'm just kidding. Let's explain why, right? So talk about the majority of fishing that we do and why you never, for the most part, even turn on the fish finder except for navigation in a brand new area.
Yeah, well, so yeah, the exception part is the key. So I'm fishing Tampa Bay a lot and really throughout the Gulf. And in most of the cases when I'm actually fishing, I'm targeting redfish, sea trout, snook, flounder in relatively shallow water, say like 5 feet or less in most cases. In many cases, actually 3 feet or less. And in relatively clear water, I can just use my eyes to see depth contours, and that's the actual finding the fish part. Because when you're in shallow water, the depth, the fish finder looking down in 5 feet of water is not going to do much, right? Pretty much any fish.
Dude, even if the water's dark, the fish are already long gone. If you're sitting on top of them in 4 feet of water, they're not just sitting there looking up at you.
But when it is very helpful is for navigation, as Joe said, right? Because as far as getting onto the flat or getting off the flat, it's very helpful just to see the depth of water that you're in so that you can know how far to trim your motor, especially if you're over grass flats. Always make sure to have your motor away from the grass, right? So if it's getting shallow, trim it up. If you have a jack plate, lift that jack plate up, and just make sure that you're never touching grass. Is when that's really what I use mine for most of the time when fishing the shallows, right? So if you're just fishing the shallows and you're going to waterways that you're familiar with, you really don't need a fancy a fancy depth finder. What I use mine most often, one of my passions is going out and exploring new areas. And so I got a Humminbird Helix 5, and I it actually has like the side scan. I thought I'd use that more, and I really don't. But what I really like about it is just the GPS nature, where I can have the cookie crumbs if I'm exploring new areas. It has a decent map on the depth contours, so you can kind of see if you're going out of the channel, you can see where some of the bars are. But most importantly, it has the cookie crumb feature where even if coming back at night, it just the GPS feature is really what I got it for, much more so than the looking down and finding fish. But that changes if you're going and fishing a lot of inlets, or if you're going to near shore reefs, or fishing, I would say like 10 feet or more, and you're even, especially if you're going to do any kind of bottom fishing, that's when you have to have a depth finder or a fish finder. And so it's a lot of it's just situational. But like for paddleboard fishing, I've done a lot of paddleboard fishing and kayak fishing. I've never once used a fish finder on my paddleboards or kayaks, but I know a lot of people do. Like Tony got one a couple years ago, and that opened up a whole new arena for him, because now he can use the side scan and paddle along bridges and actually see where some pockets of fish are. So even when paddle fishing, it's the same thing, right? If you're just doing the flats, especially clear to moderately clear water, probably don't need to mess with it. But if you want to start doing some bridge fishing and attacking some of the deeper waters, then they can be game changers. So it's really a situational thing.
Yeah, but the answer is you don't have to have it. And one of the bigger questions that we see in our private insider community, get a lot of new boat owners, and they're trying to put the right accessories on their boat, which we all want to do. And that question always comes up is, all right, I'm deciding between, or sometimes it's three choices, right? It's a trolling motor, some GPS, or a power pole, or like, and everyone seems to want to go for the fish finder first. And like, no, like trolling motor over that all day long, assuming you're going to be fishing the flats the majority of the time. I mean, do you agree? In what order would you put those if you had if you could only pick one, two, and then three?
Well, I mean, trolling motor is number one for it should be number one for everybody, and by a distant margin, because being able to quietly approach fish, especially in shallow water, this isn't like you're like going offshore in 100 feet of water where you can just power along the boat and do a bunch of circles and find the wreck and get on top of the fish. We have to be quiet, right? These fish, especially the bigger ones up in shallow water, they're up there to feed, but they know they're a little bit exposed, and so they're spooky, and so you can't go up in there all loud and everything. That's going to totally wreck the spot. So troll motor is crucial. By far the number one thing I would say from like a power pole, like a number two, second important accessory behind the trolling motor in a distance behind the trolling motor. It's situational on water clarity. So if you're fishing a lot of clear water, as I mentioned before, the need for a depth finder, or a fish finder, I should say, is really down, because you can use your eyes to see where the shallow spots are and how deep it is. But if you're saying like a lot of marsh systems where there's a lot of murky water, and you really have no idea if you're in a foot and a half of water or 10 feet of water from your eyes, then that's when I would say that the fish finder / depth finder would be the number two need for a boat. For the navigational aspect, because you can end up on an oyster bar and have no idea. So murky water, number two accessory would be fish finder, or depth finder, I should say. And then if you're in clear water, then again, the need for that bottom view goes down. So that's when the positioning is important. And I would say a power pole would be number two for people fishing like Tampa Bay area, where most of the Florida's Gulf Coast is pretty clear. So it just takes the need for that fish finder down.
And to be clear, when you're talking about being clear water, this is for navigation, to be able to see structure. This is not to find fish, because I think that's still a misconception. People think, oh yeah, I'm going to use it and fish in the flats. No, you're not going to use the fish finder part. You'll use the navigational part and dropping cookies part all day long. Like the charts on there are great, but you're not going to use it for actually finding fish. And I think that's a misconception. I mean, what are you planning on seeing in 3 feet of water? They're not going to be fish underneath the boat. Another kind of interesting thing, and I think this is where a lot of it will be going. It'll be interesting to see how these companies who sell units, fish finder units, how they adapt to this. But it's the use of our phones. These batteries now, I mean, compared just a few years ago, they're lasting 3, 4, 5x times how they used to. And then now you can get these little solar powered battery, phone chargers that just go right there and you can mount them anywhere you want to, and just have your phone charging at all times and keep that up. Remember, like that one tournament we did, your fish finder wasn't even working. And so we literally just sat there and used our phones and just had it super zoomed in. You get to see yourself moving the whole way. And I think over time, Google or someone will come up with something that lets you, do like chart plotting on there on Google satellite maps right there on your phone. And these phone screens are now bigger. I mean, especially some of these units that go for kayaks, right? How big? I mean, there's basically the same kind of screen as a phone in terms of 3 inches or 2 points. I mean, some of them are so small. It's like, man, why don't you just get a phone? You can always kind of see where you are with how long these things last now. And there's some really cool apps. We're working on something really neat. We teased it before in the past, that will basically take the chart aspect of it, meaning the sonar. So you can see the depth everywhere. You can see exactly where you are on like Google satellite maps. And it's going to give you a better idea of where to fish that given day based on trends. So we're actually going to have kind of like we call them smart fishing spots, because they move around with the fish based on the wind direction and a lot of other barometric pressure and all the little variables that we've put in there. And that's going to be really neat. And that can all be done on your phone. And obviously, if you're fishing inshore, I don't know of many places, unless you're way back up in Flamingo or something, that you don't have any service, and that's even changing. I mean, basically anywhere you are off, within a mile of the coast. I mean, at some point, everyone's going to have access, because they're putting so many new satellites up and these 5G and stuff. We're going to be able to use our phone, not Wi-Fi, but we'll be able to use our phone, and most of us have unlimited data, pretty much anywhere we can imagine, unless we start going way offshore. So I think that's going to be a big game changer. I mean, we all know that everything's moving to the phone, to mobile, and I think you'll see a lot of this change over the next couple of years. Is there's more and more satellites, and more people are going to be able to get literally everything they need right there from their phone, and not have to forego spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on a fish finder. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, for the GPS aspect, because I now use the phone a lot too. It's just convenient, and a lot of times I do my pre-trip plan on the phone, and different mapping services have different maps. Some are better than others, and like I have the iPhone now, and the Apple map has surprisingly clear images of a lot of pretty much all areas that I fish. So I do the pre-trip planning on my phone, and then when I'm out on the water, I can literally get back on that map, and now I can see the blue dot. I can see where I am. So if I'm looking for like an oyster bar or something that I saw and I can't see it visually from the water, then I just pick out the phone. Okay, I have blue dot here. That's me. And then the oyster bar is over here. Let me go that way. And it's just surprisingly convenient. But again, for the knowing the depth, right? As far as navigation, safe navigation, particularly for boaters, that's when at least having just a basic depth finder is really important. And if so, I would say if you just need it for navigation, just one of the cheaper depth finders that's just a straight down view, that'll get the job done. That way, you know how deep it is where you are. You know if you can get on a plane or not without hitting bottom. You know if you're getting up in the shallows, and you need to start trimming up to make sure you don't hit the bottom. But then if you're going out and fishing some nearshore reefs or fishing bridges, that's when then having that side view, the side imaging view is a game changer, because you can literally on one swoop, you can look both straight down, and then you can also be looking at the side, so you can cover a very large region much faster. And so we have that on the Pathfinder, and so I've been using that, and just like for bridge fishing at night, where I can see the structure right below me, but then if I'm off, if there's like a really big piece of structure on one side or the other, I can still see it, and even see fish on it. Like it is a game changer for fishing the deeper water. So for that reason, that's why I would never say you should never get a fish finder, because if you're doing that type of fishing, it's a total game changer.
Yeah. Remember, the answer was you don't have to have it, especially if you're 90% of your fishing is fishing the flats, and especially if you're in a kayak. I personally wouldn't buy one for a kayak. But let's talk about the brands that just we have experience with. You got Humminbird, probably just a good overall, good value, right? A lot of them you can get one that's that's pretty affordable, that's small and portable, and will do the job for the navigation part. You got Garmin. We have on the Pathfinder. Thoughts? Have you used other ones? What does Dad have?
I think he has a Lowrance. He just got a new one.
Yeah. Yep.
So I have a Humminbird on the skiff, and it's the Helix 5. I like it. It's a smaller screen, so like the side imaging isn't nearly as clear as the bigger Garmin. I think in the Pathfinder we have a 9 or 10-inch screen, I believe.
Yep.
Either way, it's a whole lot bigger than the 5-inch, and the screen size is a big deal. So if you're doing some hardcore bottom fishing, reef fishing, and that's why you see a lot of the offshore boats have like the really big screens. It's for a reason, right? The clarity is so much better than the little small things. The small things will work, but again, the more just like anything, the more serious you are about it, get something nicer. But I mean, as far as using different brands, I've used the 3 that we mentioned. There's others, of course. I haven't seen any that are just like, oh my gosh, this one's way better than the other, like all around. They all do most of the same stuff, right? All of them look straight down. Most of them have options to get side view, and even for navigation, they all have maps inlaid now. They all have the channels pretty well marked, where even if going out at night, you can almost, it looks like a runway where you just know, okay, stay inside the little capture, you're good. So I can't say that one is just, oh, you have to get this one, or one that I haven't seen in that you should stay away from this one either. So I would say just kind of based on what you're looking for and price budget, versus features, go that route.
Yep. And if you really want to go in depth, we did a whole course on it with Captain Peter Deeks, who does rely on his a lot, because he doesn't just fish the flats. I mean, he's out there doing a lot of nearshore stuff, and he's going after triple tail and monster redfish and pretty deep cuts and inlets. I mean, he spends a lot of time in Sebastian Inlet, and there you have to have it. Like it, you can literally, they call him, hey, do you mark anything? It's marking the fish, and you'll see it. He's like, come look at this. You're like, whoa, what is that? He's like, those are all redfish and snook. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that's game changing. It's game changing for a lot of these bass guys that fish offshore. Is the term they use when they're going out and fishing deeper lakes. And I mean, they have to have it. They rely heavily on it. But the great news is, especially if you're new and you're going to be mostly like way inshore and fishing the flats, maybe some mangroves, some oyster bars, some docks that are shallow, you don't have to have it. And certainly we would say get a troll motor first and foremost. That is game changing, and everyone gets one. They're like, wow, I can't believe I used to sit there and throw an old school anchor out or drift or just pray I was going to catch fish in one little area. That's a game changer. And yeah, like I said, if you really want to go in depth, check out that course. It's in the courses section. Of course, if you're a VIP member or a lifer, you get it for free. It's right there in your account. And there's like 27, 28 courses now, and a bunch of new mini courses we just added. So just one more reason to be an insider member. And as we teased last time, coming up with some really cool stuff that's going to really do a lot of the things that a fish finder does, and then some, in terms of helping you actually like find the fish. Like telling you what areas to go, meaning not just looking at the fish, underneath your vessel. And so that's going to be coming out later, late summer. This stuff takes a while. We've been working on it a while and got a lot of developers working on it, but it's completely different, and there's nothing out there to even compare it to. It is really cool. And insider members will get it for free. We talked about might having to raise the price on new people, meaning once you're in, that's one of our promises as an insider member. If you get in today or tomorrow, or anytime before we ever change your price, you're locked in for life as long as you're a member. So we never raise prices on members. And but when you see this coming out here this summer, you'll understand why this is going to be so powerful, and why we will probably raise the price on anyone who comes in after the fact. So another reason to get in now. Got some really cool stuff coming on the products as well. Power Prawn USA got a whole new line of jig heads coming. Got finally the custom rods that we've been working on forever are going to be coming here pretty soon. And all of these things are going to be, at least 30% off, if not more, for our insider members. So we're just trying to make it an absolute no-brainer. On top of helping you find the fish every single weekend in 10 minutes or less, we want to make sure that you're saving more than the $97 on just the tackle savings alone. That is our goal, so that you can instantly justify saying, I made my money back just from the tackle savings. And that is our goal. And we'll definitely be doing it with the rod and these power prawns and the jig heads. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm really pumped.
Yeah, and that's we have to, right? Because we have the crazy guarantee where if you don't think it's the best investment when you join the club, if you don't think it's the best investment you've ever made in fishing, we'll give your money back. So we just want to make sure that we're totally incentivized to make this as awesome as possible. And it's already amazing, and it's going to get a whole lot better with those things Joe said. So we're really excited about what's coming this year. It's some definitely some of the biggest movements we've made throughout the whole business.
Yep. And the 10 minutes or less, that was a big thing. So many people said, I'm busy. I don't have time to watch a million videos. I don't have time to to sit there and go through all the 28 master courses. And so we said, all right, like, what would we want if we were in someone's shoes that was strapped for time? Because we all are, let's face it, we all have a lot of stuff going on, and regardless of family, jobs, and all that stuff. And we said, man, I'd love for someone to boil it down in just 10 minutes or less every week, almost like being able to call a fishing guide and say, all right, like, not like GPS spots, like what type of area should I fish this weekend, based on the trends, based on what's happening, and having a fishing guide have access to a lot of different data and a lot of different feedback, and to be able to say, yeah, here's what you're looking for. Here's what lures or bait to use. Here's the depth they're going to be at, and literally give you like a blueprint of where to fish, so that you leave, the dock or the ramp or wherever you are with confidence, right? that you know exactly, at least have an idea of exactly where you should be fishing versus like scratching your head saying, man, I have no idea, or getting to your one spot that you have and someone's already in it. And then you're like lost like a kid at Disney World. So that's our whole goal, is to have you go out there with confidence and consistency to get tight lines in 10 minutes or less. That's our big promise that we're going to be hammering home, and adding a lot to that as well over the next year. But if you haven't watched those, that's every Friday morning. Luke puts out that video every Friday morning, 10 minutes or less. If you just watch that alone, you will know more than 99% of all the weekend warriors out there. And you will have guide type of access of at least what to be looking for and what types of spot to fish based on, what's the old T word, Luke? Trends.
It's on the trends, and mathematically too, just why it's so easy for us to give such a bold guarantee, because it's just a good deal, is for every week that 10 minutes or less video, if that alone is all you want, which a lot of people do, they're busy, it comes down to $1.85 per week for that coaching session on, hey, here's exactly what you need to do. And then you can just spend 10 minutes. If you're too busy for 10 minutes, you're just too busy for a lot of things. That's a problem that needs to be addressed. But again, for such a low price. And then in addition to, we have the foundational courses. So regardless of how new or experienced you are, you can just go through and make sure that you have the proper foundation on how to use the various online maps, what the pros and cons are of all the different mapping platforms, and just knowing exactly how fish respond to changing weather and seasons. The foundational courses cover all that. Again, the 10 minutes or less kind of gives you what you need to know for that weekend, but those foundational courses will let you know for your lifetime, for that matter. So it's all there, and it's amazing value.
And we've put a lot of time into cheat sheets just to simplify it, right? Same deal. Hey, I don't want to go watch, a 3-hour video course. Great. We got cheat sheets. You can look at them real quick, print them off, boo, bam, sham. You know exactly what you should use, what depth you should be using them at, and where to use them. We try to simplify it big time. So yeah, that's a big question. Would you invest $1.85 every week to know exactly where to go? Having a full-time pro literally take you by the hand and show you where you should fish. If the answer is yes, come join us in the club. It's at saltstrong.com. You'll see a little area or a button to join the Insider Club and put your information in. I think we have a couple little gifts we're sending out right now. And we made it a no-brainer, as Luke said. If it's after a year or any time in between, if you don't think it's an amazing investment, and if you're not saving time and money, then get your money back, no questions asked. If you stick around for the whole year and you think like it was a waste of time, like we wasted your time, we'll double it. That's how confident we are. So we'll actually give you your money back, and then we'll double it as well. If you're on the annual plan, that's how confident we are. This works. As we've had now 28,000 people, I believe we're out to now, have gone through, and most everyone on that annual plan renews, just because it keeps working over and over and over again. So appreciate you guys so much. I know a lot of you current members listen to the podcast as well. We appreciate you big time. Love seeing you guys in the community. There has been an influx of people in our private community sharing the reports and sharing what's working and sharing where they're finding the fish. And that's been so cool. I love the community that we as a group, as a family, have built. It is cool, and it's just getting better and better every day. So it's one more thing you get access to as a member, and you current members, thank you guys so much. Make sure to get in there and see all the new changes and all the new faces as well in the community. Luke, anything else on Fish Find Us?
Yeah, I think we covered it. Again, a lot of it's situational. So if you have questions, or if you've used some that you love, or if you've used some that hey, like this really wasn't a good depth finder, I haven't yet come across either one of those spectrums. But if you have, please let us know. You can leave a comment down below if you're on the website. These podcasts get posted on the website, so we'd love to hear your feedback. And we're not affiliated with any of these systems, so whether it's overly good or overly bad, we're not going to take it down, right? This is all about just having transparent discussion. So what we said is just what we've seen so far, and we would certainly love your feedback.
Yep. So that's it. Appreciate you guys big time. Go down in the comment section, leave a comment, especially if you're on saltstrong.com watching this. And if you're listening, definitely go to saltstrong.com. You'll see the show notes, and leave us a comment on your thoughts about Fish Finders, ones that you've liked or haven't liked. We'd love to hear any and all feedback, because this is still something that, like I said, we've always treated as a nice to have, not a must have, for the majority of the type of fishing that we do. So adios, we out. Peace.
Yeah.